Hi, I'm attorney Renee Osipov with Chelle Law, and we assist parents, guardians, and students who are having issues surrounding 504 plans and accommodations within the 504 plan. So in this video, I'm discussing what does a 504 plan actually mean. So a 504 plan is granted for students to ensure that any child who has a disability that's identified under law who's attending elementary school or secondary education receives accommodations so that they are assured that their academic success and also their access to learning within their environment. So that's a lot of words, but what does that actually mean? So we can even break that down further. So first of all, a 504 plan is codified in federal law, so it's not state specific. So all 50 states have to provide this. 504 plans and their accommodations are granting protections for students who have disabilities from being discriminated against. So if a child has any type of physical impairment or mental impairment, they would need accommodations within the educational institution or educational setting so that they're provided those types of accommodations so that they're not discriminated against. So let me give you a couple examples. I would say probably the most common 504 plan accommodations are for students who have anxiety. So they're at the cognitive level of their peers. They don't need special education. They don't need to be pulled out to receive specialized instruction. They just have anxiety. It's a diagnosis from the doctor, and it impairs their learning because they're so nervous or they have specific symptoms of anxiety that it's hard for them to focus within the classroom. So in order for the teacher to not discriminate against them, they would need accommodations. So what this would look like, maybe they are allowed to pre-record any type of sort of oral presentations because getting up in front of the class would be debilitating for them. Or if they have anxiety around exams, they are either allowed additional time, or they can take their exam in a quiet place, or they can have an aide sit next to them while they're taking their test. Maybe they have panic attacks, and so they need to leave the classroom. In this case, there may be some sort of indication to the educator that they need to leave. So this is sort of like a code between the teacher and the student, and they're able to leave and go to a specific area and then self-regulate and then come back into the classroom. So these are great examples of 504 plans that give accommodations to a student so that they're not disabled or treated differently in the classroom. That's the purpose or the meaning of the 504 plan. 504 plans are different than IEPs because IEPs are, there can be some accommodations, but IEPs are for more so for special education. And in order to qualify for an IEP, you have to have a disability that fits into one of 13 categories. A 504 plan is comprehensive. It can be any disability that affects the student mentally or physically. And then the second part of that requirement is that it has to substantially limit a major life activity. So that could be anything inside the classroom. Another thing that 504 plans are there to protect is students with physical disabilities. So this could be temporary if a student's in an accident and has some type of physical impairment because of that, but they're recovering, so it's just temporary. Or it can be for an extended period of time. So for an example, if someone's maybe bound to a wheelchair, but again, they don't need special education, so they would just need a 504 plan accommodations. So the classroom itself may need a clear path in and out of the classroom that's easily able for the child who is bound to the wheelchair to get in and out of the classroom. Or maybe they sit towards the front so they don't have to maneuver in between the desks and the tables towards the back. Also in the hallway, during transitional times, they need additional time or maybe a shorter pathway or a specific locker. Cafeteria, do they need to sit in a specific area or to get their lunch or receive their lunch in a specific way? So those are, again, examples of how those accommodations would protect that student from discrimination because of their disability. And again, 504 plans, disabilities are very broad. It's really an endless list. It just has to be any sort of mental or physical impairment that substantially limits a major life event. The other thing that 504 plans mean is that it's any type of accommodation needed within the educational institution. So this could be the general classroom, and it could be instruction or assignments or exams. It could be in the hallway, transitions between classes. It could be restrooms, receiving OT or PT, all of the different types of therapy at school. It could mean transportation to and from school, extracurricular activities, and then also in the cafeteria as well. This is probably one of the biggest areas I see left out in 504 plans. And it's always something you want to think about because it's a high sensory area, high traffic. It can be stressful on the students because most of the time they don't have a lot of time to eat. So if there's any type of anxiety, sensory processing disorder, or physical impairment, they may need additional time for their lunch. Oh, also recess or specials. So if they're going to physical education, art, music, all of those things would all be included in the 504 plan accommodations. So the meaning of the 504 plan is really there to protect a student who has a disability that's substantially limiting them within the educational environment. The other thing also to remember about a 504 plan is the process for evaluation to see if a student is eligible or not can be initiated by the school itself or the parents or guardians. So the parent or guardian can write a letter to the school asking for them to be evaluated. If the parents are initiating this, I always recommend that they have a diagnosis from their healthcare provider or either their general healthcare provider, specialist, or some type of therapist before they start the process. It does help the school. And then sometimes the school will need to perform evaluations to collect data, or the educators and staff within the school can already provide data. So this could be observations, grades, attendance, things like that. So a 504 is all-encompassing within the educational institution, there to protect students from discrimination if they have a disability, and it's to give them accommodation so that they can succeed in the classroom or academically. So anything they need in order to be successful compared to their peers, they need those accommodations, and the 504 plan is there for protection. I think the biggest takeaways are that 504 plans are there to protect students. It is based in federal law, and once those accommodations are written, the school must comply with them. This is not guidelines, they must provide them. And parents and guardians have legal recourse if the school is not. You can definitely hold the school accountable. If you have any additional questions or you would like more information on 504 plans, accommodations, and how they're written, you can check out our website. It's in the description below the video. And you can also set up a consultation with me, actually, and more than happy to walk you through the process. We can come up with accommodations or proposed amendments to a already existing 504 plan if you feel like the student's needs are not being met.